freeze.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Truth and Rhythm. Brought to you by funkandstuff.net, this is the interview show that gets deep in the pocket with contemporary music's foremost masters of the groove. I am your host, Scott Dr. GX Goldfine, musicologist, creative arts journalist, and multimedia pro. Whether you're watching the video version of this show or the audio-only podcast version, I thank you so much for your continued interest and support in this show. If you enjoy this programming, there are several ways to help support Truth and Rhythm, as well as contribute to further enhancements and expansion, plus get some sweet perks and rewards in the process. First, subscribe to the Funk and Stuff channel on YouTube, which is where Truth and Rhythm lives, and be an advocate by spreading the word among fellow funk, jazz, and R&B music lovers. Second, join Truth and Rhythm's new membership program through Patreon, which features 3 tiers for truth believers, truth seekers, and truth crusaders. You can also submit a direct donation to the cause anytime at funkandstuff.net. At that site, which is loaded with awesome content, you can also purchase the book Everything's on the One, The First Guide of Funk. Shop for official Truth and Rhythm and Funk and Stuff merchandise, and use the Amazon links for all of your online purchases, which allocates a percentage to this show. Sponsorship opportunities are available as well. Contact me directly at scottg@funkandstuff.net. For those of you who go the extra step in supporting the show, you have my heartfelt gratitude for allowing us to continue to shine the light on those special artists whose quest is to find truth in rhythm. Hey, before we get started with today's show, I just want to draw your attention to new merchandise. Funk and Stuff and Truth and Rhythm designs are in, and they look pretty darn cool. So show your support, help support the program, and show off some stylish merchandise and apparel. Only at the Funk and Stuff store. I'm delighted to welcome to the Truth and Rhythm Mothership R&B vocalist and composer Lynn Davis. Since joining the George Duke Band in 1977, she has distinguished herself as a top lead and background singer in studio and on stage for dozens of high-profile recording artists. They include Patrice Rushen, Lenny White, Stevie Wonder, Jeffrey Osborne, the Brothers Johnson, Funk Shun, Chaka Khan, Marvin Gaye, Earth, Wind & Fire, Phyllis Hyman, Aretha Franklin, Sheila E, Vandross, Mick Jagger, Barbra, Streisand, Mariah, Carey, and Whitney Houston. Whoa, that's quite a itinerary there. So very impressive. Lynn, how are you? Thank you for joining the show.
I'm great. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Outstanding. So good to see you. And where are you coming to us from today?
I'm from Los Angeles, California.
And are you from there? No, I think where are you from originally?
I'm originally born and raised in Los Angeles.
Okay.
My parents were from the South, and my mom was from New Orleans, my dad, Mississippi, but I was born and raised here.
All right. I can dig it. I'm a native too. That's why I'm representing.
Hey.
Yeah.
Where'd you go to high school?
Santa Monica.
Get out of here. Okay. I was Narbonne, the Marine League. By Redondo Beach and Rolling Hills out there.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
For years I worked in Torrance, so very close. Yeah.
Yeah, I miss the South Bay.
Yeah. Before I came out here to the Charlotte area, I was in Culver City and Fox Hills.
Ah, okay. Oh, yeah. Know that area very well.
Yeah. So miss my stomping grounds, but I like it out here too.
Okay.
So it's so great to have you. Been a fan of your vocals for so long, and you've made such a great variety of fantastic music. So again, thank you for doing this.
Thank you. I've been really blessed. I've lived so many of my dreams, you know, that I dreamt as a little girl. So I'm grateful.
No doubt. I mean, you had the talent early on. I mean, how old were you when you first realized that you really had a voice?
Five.
5.
My dad was a classical singer, and he was always at the piano with his pitch instrument, and he sang classically. He was doing a lot of classical stuff then, and he sight read, and he learned his songs in different languages. And I sat there on the piano stool and learned every word in every language. I wanted to sing just like him.
Wow.
So he was my inspiration originally. Yeah. And then he brought home all the jazz greats, you know, Sarah, Dinah Washington, Sam Davis Jr., Duke Ellington. So I had a really incredible indoctrination to music.
Sounds like it for sure. Yeah.
Of all genres, you know. It was healthy, I think, because it gave me appreciation for down the road when I worked with jazz artists and did, I don't know what you would call Yanni, like classical pop. I don't know. But it came in handy.
So yeah, it sounds like you grew up with a lot of great music in the household, which is fantastic. And it sounds like you were also encouraged from a young age to, you know, go with your gift.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. At home, in church at least 2 to 3 times a week, sang in the choir. You know, my whole family was very musical.
Did you feel comfortable in front of folks doing that, or did you have any stage fright?
No, I was totally, I was very shy. And the first time that I sang in church, I sang a song called The Holy City. And the only way that I could do it is my grandmother made a curtain and I sang behind the curtain. That was the first time that I sang publicly a solo, was in church. And I didn't want to look at anybody, and I didn't want anyone to see me. Yeah. I grew out of it eventually.
So you, I know, got involved with some talent shows and things like that. And, you know, when were you first exposed to a band? I'm assuming it was before the George Duke thing.
I participated in the Battle of the Bands. It was a duet. Elaine Norwood and I, we called ourselves the Shades of Love. And it was like the first time in the history of the Battle of the Bands that a vocal group won the entire, you know, show. And then I was in a band in high school called Brian and Things that later became the Bus Boys. You know, the boys are back in town. You know, the Eddie Murphy movie, remember that?
Yeah, 48 Hours.
Yeah. So my parents were very strict, but they were very lenient when it pertained to music. So I gigged in nightclubs and stuff when I was in high school in Anaheim, and really talented people, you know, Brian O'Neill, Philip Charles, a lot of people that, you know, went on to pursue their careers in music. And from there, I went on to USC. And I think the second year I started getting, you know, I always did auditions, but I finally got that auditioning from George. And I started doing a lot of studio work, and it just blossomed from there.
What was that audition like? I mean, what did it consist of? And what was your first impression of George Duke?
Well, I came home and my mom says, you have an audition with George Duke. And I called my bestie and I said, is that the guy that did that song, Surely You Break My Heart? And she said, yeah. And I said, oh my God, I love him. I love that song. I have an audition. So she went with me. There were, a slew of women there that particular day auditioning. And I felt very confident. I was prepared. This is what I wanted. This was my dream. And he was very kind. He knew what he wanted. It wasn't a regular auditioning. He threw in a little Brazilian jazz, wanted to see if I could do that, ad-libbing. And it was very intimate. It was Byron Miller, Ndigu, Leon Chancellor, George, and myself, and about 50 other candidates in the room. And I just did my thing.
When did you find out that you had it?
Well, as soon as I sang, a lot of the other women, they had already auditioned, and I guess they were scoping out the competition. And I don't know, that was never my style. I never looked at it as a competition, And so I auditioned and I went out of town. I went to San Diego. And a few days later, I got called to, I believe, the first studio session of a musical encounter with George was in the studio. And I believe it was Raul de Souza, My Sweet Lucy's album. And that's when he realized that I was only like 17, 16 and a half, 17. And he said, you can't go on the tour with me. You can't go on this nightclub tour with me. You're too young. And I didn't let him forget me, I stayed in touch. He gave me his phone number and I used it.
So how long did you have to wait then?
It felt like about a year and a half. And maybe longer, I think a year and a half to 2 years. And I was well into college then at USC. And I asked my parents, he had me come and audition again. And I just kind of felt like it was my destiny. I remember not feeling uncomfortable, feeling very at home, comfortable, like this is it, this is the path. And I did a European, first we went to Carnival in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And it was the first time I was ever on a plane. And then we did a European tour.
First time on a plane. Wow. That's a whirlwind, you get into the whole
amazing.
thing.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
What year was that? What year was that, Lynn?
1978, because I graduated from high school in 76. So I was well into almost my second year of college. And so I think it was about 1978 or 79, somewhere between 78 and 79.
Yeah, I'm just trying to visualize where George Duke was with his albums then, because I know Dookie Stick, that album, I forgot.
Yeah, that was
78.
Before. Yeah, so the first album that I did with him was Follow the Rainbow.
Okay, yeah, so that's probably 79,
Yeah.
The orange cover,
Yes.
Yeah, a great album.
Oh man, he had, we were all crazy about Dookie Stick and Dance.
Reach for it,
And it was amazing. It was amazing. I couldn't have asked for or prayed for a better introduction to the business. And And when I think back on it now, you know, it was really quite foundational in, you know, just how I moved within the business. And George helped me to establish myself, you know, to just by being affiliated with someone so incredibly talented.
Yeah, he ended up mentoring so many people in the business,
Yeah,
just great people.
yeah,
And
he really did.
I saw that group around 79, 80 at the Roxy in Hollywood.
Oh, you were there at one of those shows, huh?
Yeah. So were you at one of those shows? Were you there
Are you
then?
kidding? Yes,
All right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And Stanley would come on stage and blow everybody away because he was so loud and stuff.
Yeah.
It was great. It was
By,
great. It was
by,
like a family, you know. It's like, come on, Stan, and yeah, those are the days.
yeah, it must have been just an incredible groove into
Oh
that
yeah.
band, you know?
Were you there the night that George Clinton came up on
No,
stage and gave George a funk permit?
no. I think George Duke was at the Roxy, I guess, twice in that year. He was here in the spring,
Okay.
and then in December when George came. Clinton was December. I went in the spring. So
Mm,
yeah,
yeah. They
darn it, I
didn't
missed
know.
that.
They didn't know George was so funky. So he came up on stage and gave George a funk permit, like, oh, you know, okay, reach for it, that's funky. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I had Byron on the show not too long ago, and that was really
Oh,
cool. Um, Loved having him on because so many people still don't realize that he's the one playing on that, you know?
oh, classic. Classic. It was a classic solo. I mean, Ndugu and Byron were a very integral part of that sound, that funkiness. They had George and Ndugu and Byron, they had magic. They had magic together, really.
And Sheila E too was part of that.
Oh yeah. Are you kidding? Oh yeah, definitely. Chelsea James, um, Napoleon Murphy. I was just a new kid on the block, blending in, bringing what I had in to the pot, you know, stirring it up a little.
What
But
was it like?
it was already funky. It was you know, I was the new young kid, and um they were a bit more seasoned, and I did a lot of listening and watching and learning, and that was fine with me. I was happy with that position, you know, and George supported that. And every now and then I go, am I going to be able to sing the song? He said, soon, just be patient, soon. And then he was writing for the next record, which was Master of the Game. And I went to the studio one day and he said, I want you to sing this. And that was I Want You for Myself. And it ended up being a single. So I was pretty fortunate, pretty blessed.
Did you? I'm sure at some point you heard it on the radio for the first time.
Yeah,
What
I
was that
did.
like?
It was fun. It was fun because I was still so young, and sometimes we would go, you know, out clubbing, my friends and I, and the song would come on, and I would just kind of sit there and go, look at everybody, they love it. Oh my gosh. And I remember a friend of mine named Reggie saying, what are you doing out here? You got a hit song on the radio. What you doing up in here in the club? You know, but I didn't see it like that. I didn't see it as, and you know, I've arrived, and you know, I was just enjoying
What was the experience like being in the studio? You know, and were you intimidated at first, or did it feel just like, you know, being on stage, or how was it for you?
I've never felt intimidated when it came to music. I I just love to sing, and I love to be around music. And I'm not one to compete, compare. So I never experienced any of those type of feelings my entire career. I really didn't. I sang in my room every day, all of my life. So when all this went down and all happened, I was ready. And if I hadn't been prepared, maybe I would have felt intimidated by the monster talent that was around me. But I felt ready. And I was happy to be amongst them. And even though I came with my own thing, I learned from everyone around me as well.
Yeah, it sounds like it was more like it's about time, than being intimidated, like you were ready forever.
I was ready. I was an eager
Bring it
beaver,
on.
And I was young and I felt like, Tony Montana, the world is mine. I really did. And George made it comfortable. He was a very humble monster of a talent, but his humility spoke to me. And I tried to learn from his example. I mean, no one in the studio had the kind of studio etiquette that George had. He brought out the best in everybody because he was always so chilled and cool. And why you want to do it again, Lena? It's not going to be better. It's just going to be different. And if it feels good, why you want to change it? So I learned a lot from George. I think we all did. One day he was working on a movie with Eric Zobler and I and George were in the studio. And he had to leave and go do another project because he was always doing like Anita or Jeffrey Osborne. He was Denise Williams. He was always producing other people. And he got up out of his chair. He said, "Come on, sit down, finish it." And I was like, "You want me to finish the break?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "You got this. You can do it." And he left. And I looked at Eric and I was like, "Okay, we here now." His favorite saying, "To the bank, we were there, we here now." So, to have someone like George cultivate that kind of confidence in you. Some people, I think that's a gift that he was able to do that. Artists are very sensitive, and I can't remember George ever making me feel uncomfortable. I was doing a lead vocal or on stage singing or in the studio, never, ever.
I think it speaks to that, the fact that you look at his recording history and so many of the performers, played with him repeatedly through the years,
Yes. His family.
Yeah.
It really, really was. I mean, Jeffrey loved him. Philip Bailey loved. I mean, these were not just art. We were not just artists that worked with George. We were a family. We loved each other.
So, I mean, you got kind of spoiled though, didn't you? I mean, what a start with that band, I mean, from there out, you could only maybe hope to match it, never surpass it.
Well, he set a standard and I took the standard with me. And I think that's why a lot of people did call me for, more than once, repeatedly, because I never looked at it as, I don't know if it was a good thing or not. I didn't look at it as so much as a business. I was like, this is my gift and I'm sharing it. And I have a responsibility when people call me to give my best, and even give my parents always said, what makes a person special and excellent is that they always do more than what's required of them. So, I wasn't stingy with my gift and ideas, and some people took advantage of that, but
Mm.
we didn't really care. We were having too much fun.
You mentioned, Lynn, about those influences and the music that was playing when you were growing up. I also wanted to ask you, as far as singers, who were the ones that you really looked up to and that you think influenced you in your style?
Ah, Donny Hathaway, Aretha Franklin, Stevie Wonder, and the Emotions.
Mm.
Those are my girls. They taught me how to cry and emote, and the value of emotion and conveying it, that it wasn't all about, oh, I can sing. The emotions, they were just the bomb. And believe it or not, I loved a lot of the doo-wop groups,
Mm.
like the Dramatics and the Whatnots and the Stylistics and Earth, Wind and Fire. I knew how to sing all of their licks. I knew the order of songs on their records. And Minnie Riperton, I can't leave out Minnie. She was major for me.
Had Wanda Hutchinson was on the show. She was just such a delight.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Love her.
they're so genuine and authentic, and that's who they are, Yeah.
So
I got to sing with Wanda, and it was amazing. It was amazing. It was amazing. It was almost
when was that?
scary. I got to sing with Wanda,
When?
at her house like years ago,
Yeah.
with Wayne and Wanda, and how they've brought other people into the emotions thing, and I felt like they were trying to groom me into maybe doing that, and I freaked out because I was like, no way, I want you guys to do the emotions thing. There's only one emotions, it's like, for me, there's only one real supremes. I'm not a fan of bringing other, no. I mean, I felt honored. It was great working with her those few days, and I learned some of the secrets and, how they blend and how they phrase things and where they put the voices and who was singing what. I was really surprised, and they're just masters. They're masterful. She
Well,
still
they
is.
have that sibling connection too, so that is
That
something that
natural
adds a little
blend and
something
stuff.
extra.
Yeah. I listened to her and her daughters, and it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still the bomb. The
And the
bomb.
DNA for sure.
Yeah. And I love Diana Ross. I love Diana Ross and Gladys Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I think that this younger generation, I always hear women talking about, yeah, I'm a boss. No, there's only one boss, baby. And that's Diana Ross. And I loved her presentation because she did everything with class. She was sexy with class. She's still a class act. She's the boss. That's the boss, Diana Ross.
Yep. Elegant, sophisticated.
Yes.
Always. Yeah.
It's timeless, Yeah.
What was your, I know early on you also worked with 29 and Lenny White. Was that the first kind of thing you did outside of George Duke, or what was like the first thing you kind of started spreading out from?
Patrice Rushen.
Okay.
I did Patrice and her records, and started writing with Patrice, and we toured. And then along the way, I can't remember exactly how. I'm sure it was through George that I met Lenny White, or through Stanley. And they called me to do a American Bandstand, and what was that? What was that? Dinah Shore? Was that what that was years ago?
She had a show.
Yeah, right. And I think we did that together. So I did some performances with them on television. Never really toured with them or anything like that. You know.
Was it a kick to be on TV, or you're just like, hey, I was always ready for this too?
I loved it. I think the first time that I was on, well, with George, we did a lot of the Lou Rawls. Remember those? I want to call them marathons. Those not marathons. Telethons. Thank you. And with Lou Rawls, you'll never find. So I mean that was cool, but it was really cool when I did American Bandstand. I think it was with Lenny White, and I really realized for the first time, like, whoa, when I went backstage and Jody Watley Shalimar was on the show as well. And I was like, oh, I'm on a show. I'm in the dressing room with Jody Watley and Shalimar getting my makeup and hair done. Ooh, you know. But I never got big-headed, or that's not me.
Oh, unless I made your hair big that day, but
I like big hair, but and I do have a big head, but not literally, but not figuratively speaking. No.
what was Patrice like then? I mean, she was still pretty young then, but she had hit it at such a young age.
Listen, Patrice's mom and dad lived in the same neighborhood as my parents. And I didn't realize that until I met her, and I used to do a lot of running. You know, that was my exercise of choice, and my friend Ron Brown and I would run, and then we brought Patrice into the running, and Freddie Washington moved out and was staying with Patrice in her parents' house. And we just all became family. Then we started working together in the studio, and Sherry Brown and Roy Galloway. Those vocals were so sweet sometimes. Patrice and I would just start laughing in the middle of a tape. Going, dang, you know, that feels so good. That sounds good. You know, yeah, it was beautiful. And we were all so young and so supportive of each other and encouraging. It felt like that's what it should have always, you know, it should always be that. I think the music industry, these kids that are doing what they're doing now, I don't know, they miss so much. They don't even know it. They're so worried about making money and being famous that, you know.
Especially the last couple of years when it's so hard to even get together in person, you know, and things are happening remotely, it's even more removed from that.
Yeah, it is challenging. And for us, it's, you know, coming from the old school, it's a whole new world, you know, streaming. And I'm like, how do these kids make any money? You know, selling the records, you know, it's a whole new world. And I'm still learning a lot. Even though I have an LP coming out very soon, I have to learn it so that I know how to move in this new world, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll definitely promote what you have coming up before we part ways here.
Okay.
For sure. But I see that with the Patrice, you were on Pizzazz, which was one of her biggest albums. Do you remember, was there a hit of hers that you had your vocals on, or with Patrice? Do you recall?
Yeah.
Which hits that people would know?
Well, listen, they were all like hits to me because I love Patrice and I love the songs that we wrote together. Some of my favorites, of course, everybody loved Haven't You Heard? And I really loved, some of my favorites were Settle for My Love, we wrote This Is All I Really Know, which is really on the spiritual spectrum, you know, and but it was still very soulful. I think everything Patrice did was magical, and there was something very magical between Freddie Washington and her and the whole writing thing, you know, and Sherry Brown and myself, you know. Everybody had their little pocket of magic together, you know, and synergy was there. So I sang on all of those, most of those songs. I remember George saying, "Your sound is all on Patrice's stuff." And I was like, "Oh, really?" You know, I never looked at it that way.
But he was good with that, right? He was saying that's a good thing, not, hey, I want to keep that, right?
George, yeah, I mean, he wasn't, I think he was informing me of something that I wasn't aware of then, you know, and I became a lot more aware of the importance of your signature, your sound. But I worked a lot and I did a lot of things because of that. So I think that, you know, it was a double-edged sword that he was saying, "Girl, you know, your sound low," you know, and also, wow, you know, your sound is out there now, you and Patrice, and you're all on her stuff, you're all on my stuff. And I worked for George for a couple of decades on all of his projects. So
Lynn, do you get more fulfillment from doing a lead part or a background part, or it just depends, or what?
equally, I love singing background. I think there's an art to singing background, and I'm big on the blend and, you know, sounding like one voice as opposed to, you know, as a group, one voice, as opposed to being a solo artist. Like a lot of people really wanted to, I want to do my own thing and da da da. And I wanted to do it, but maybe not for the reasons that most wanted to do it. And then when I saw what the lifestyle would really be as a single artist, not to speak of the many obstacles, challenges involved when you're that young and you're a woman, and a couple of Me Too situations, and you know, just certain things that just come along with being in any business. I wasn't too particular about, I didn't miss like not doing records and going out on the road. I mean, I think I missed a little bit of like doing a solo record, you know, but I started working on doing that with my brother. Love him, such a talented man, Dennis McCoskey and Matthew Wilder. And I think by the time that we were working together, you know, so I had experienced so much in the business that really didn't sit well with me. You know, my whole heart wasn't into it. But we're getting ready to release those songs. And let me tell you, a really good production, a really good song is forever. Thank you, Ray Parker. Yeah, Ray Parker taught me that, the importance of, you know, a solid song.
Well, in talking about that, I mean, how did you develop your composition skills?
I paid attention. You know, like Ray P would I was so young, so around Ray Parker and Ollie Brown and those guys, and George, and I saw how Ray created his songs. He talked about the concept of, what makes a song special. Um, Simplicity is beauty, and a hook that, the average housewife would want to sing along to, and a story. And I was around people like Patrice and George and Ray, and that were just incredible songwriters as well as producers and artists. And I paid attention, and I already had it in me. And to have someone like Patrice say, "Hey, I want you to write this with me," when you expect something from someone without them having to ask, and it's already in them, you're saying to them, yes, I see it in you, and let's do this, and you can do this. That's so powerful, So I'm grateful that I worked with a lot of very talented heavyweight people who were very secure within themselves and didn't mind, extending a hand.
You've worked with so many great acts, but I highlighted a few that I want to throw out there just so you could just share some thoughts or memories related to those particular people, if you would, if you don't mind. Funk Shun Spirit of Love album. Do you have any memories of working with? Yeah.
Oh, Felton Pilot is a sweetheart. Yeah, love Felton. That's what I remember about Confunction. Felton, he was so gracious and another great songwriter. I remember him coming to my mom and dad's house and helping me. I was in college still taking courses, and I was writing out music for the first time, and Felton sat on my mom's piano and helped me understand what that was. And I learned a lot from him about writing songs as well. It's a great experience.
And Brothers Johnson, Winners?
Oh, man. Lewis. Thunder Thumbs. Amazing, sweet guy. That's what when I think of the Brothers Johnson, I just remember Lewis Johnson. Not just because he was so incredible, but he was so humble and sweet and funky. Okay, who else?
Lewis Johnson, yeah, Brothers Johnson, incredible bass player. Such a loss, far too young with him.
I know.
Then Jeffrey Osborne.
Love Jeffrey. It was one of those magical blends, like our voices work together, and really such a kind, giving human being. I really enjoyed working, and so down to earth and easy to work with him. Yeah.
He's one of my all-time favorite male vocalists.
Oh,
I think
God.
He's overlooked, I think, by some when that discussion is happening, but he's incredible.
Right. It was hard singing behind Jeffrey because I'd be on stage listening so much. I'd be like, well, you better sing. He has such an incredible instrument,
Yeah, I was mad when some guys, left their groups to go solo, but not so much with him. He's just so good.
No. That was meant, right?
Yeah.
Howard Hughes was one of my other favorite singers like that.
Yeah.
Like, I love Howie. Good God Almighty. I mean, he can caress a song and knows how to interpret a song and sounds so sweet and soulful and sexy. That's my brother. Philip Ingram. They're just bad. I mean, sometimes I'm in the studio with Philip and I just want to like side their head like, boy, no, you didn't just do that.
I like to be a fly on the wall to see that happen.
Oh my God. And to stand there and be singing next to like Philip Perry and, you know, in between takes, he's just like glowing just because it's just in him to do it. He's not showing off or nothing like that. That's just Phil. Just loves to sing. And we love to hear Phil sing.
And of course, another favorite singer, Stevie Wonder. You have a credit for the Woman in Red soundtrack.
Yes.
So
Did that on tour while I was touring with him, the Hotter in July tour. We go off stage, get on a bus, go to the studio, sleep on the couches and chairs. When Stevie would be ready to work, we work, we get back on the bus, and we go to the next venue and we do a 3-hour show. Steve is amazing. He was amazing. I used to go, how can you? And his voice was perfect every night. I never not known him to be 100. And I asked him one day, I said, why do you, because I know the kind of chops, we all know the kind of chops Stevie has. And I said, why do you sing certain songs the same way every night? He said, because it's harder to sing a song the same way every night than it is to interpret it differently. Isn't that deep? Think about that. Because if you're a little bit tired or whatever, and you still can execute like you execute on a regular basis, he's a master. And he's full of surprises, like making me scat one night. Lynn, yeah, Steve, scat. And I'm like, oh, Lord. Thank you, Dad. Thank you for Sarah and Ella and I, See how important it is, that you are exposed to music, not just one genre.
I'm just rolling through my head what that might have been. Was it Do I Do, or what might you have been asked to scat on?
Was it that? I think it was Do I Do. I think it was Do I Do. What was it?
Yeah,
yes, I think it was. I think it very good. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. And so I'm right there on stage in front of thousands of people. What am I gonna say? I went in. That was probably one of those times where I felt a little frightened, but it was a good fright. It was like, you better sing.
Adrenaline was flowing like a volcano.
You better not mess this up.
Did he ever say good job or nice job or any feedback like that? Or
well, this time Stevie said good job. Yeah, if his head is moving, he's smiling, you good. You good. It was enough that he asked me to sing with him. So I didn't need his constant. That was validation, from God that Stevie Wonder asked me to sing with him. Are you kidding me? He didn't have to say anything else ever. And I sang a duet with him as well. Come on. Doesn't take much for me to be grateful.
Did you have any crossover on the tour with Marva King?
Marva, I sung with Marva in the studio, but not on tour with Stevie. It was Wendy Barnes, Alex Brown, Susie Green, and I. So we came after the great Shirley Brewer and Denise Williams, that whole, Michael Cimbello. Oh my God.
Wonder Love. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, that's like, classic Wonder Love, And I did one tour with him And then I just moved on.
There's much more to this great Truth and Rhythm interview. Just continue on to the next part of the episode. Also, be sure to subscribe to this channel. If you've already done so, please share it with friends. And become a member by joining Truth and Rhythm on Patreon or consider donating at funkandstuff.net. Thank you very much.